I'm Laura Smith. Welcome to my backyard. We're here today because we're talking about gardening and deer. The two of them do not really go well together. And we're here because one of the things that we need to think about is that deer have specific habits, and knowing those habits and what they do can help us figure out how to plant a garden so that the deer have a less negative impact on us. One of the things that I found is that the deer have a pathway through the back area here, going from the evergreens through my plants. And so by planting things that they like in that area, all I'm doing is encourage them into my garden. I at first had planted hostas in that area, but that was before I recognized it as a deer path. And of course, after a year, we had no hosta. And it would have been foolish to have planted hosta there again because I was just going to encourage their habits. Deer eat at a specific time. They tend to eat in the early mornings and late evenings. And so knowing that can also be helpful. Remember that your garden to them is just one big salad bowl. And so they're going to really be trying to enjoy as much food as they can. They tend to eat the most and be the most damaging in springtime. So right about now, they especially like things like hostas and daylilies that are just popping up. That's as they're trying to nourish their bodies, and they're coming off the winter and trying to gain more weight and nurse their young. They tend to be more in our gardens and doing damage. There's really three different ways that we can think of discouraging deer in our garden. The first one is a barrier. This is a very successful approach. However, it does have an aesthetic consequence. So over here I have my old garden, which is now a holding bed, and notice that it has fencing, and that fencing is to keep deer from getting in, but also it's tall enough that they can't jump over that fencing, which is a problem. You can't have fencing too short, otherwise you will run into issues. We planted daylilies at the front of our house, thinking that it was at the porch where we spend all of our time, but in fact that didn't deter the deer at all. They walk right onto our porch and eat the daylilies. So again, we've had to provide a physical barrier to stop them from doing that. Another way to prevent deer, or at least to keep them at bay, is with scent. So strong smelling plants like garlic and daffodils can help deter deer. Putting things like coyote urine, that's something that's commonly on the market, or you read a lot about hairballs and from your hair or from dog's hair to help deter. And those are things that you can try. Know that they don't always work successfully, especially if it's really wet out, and so that will minimize the smell, and so then you end up with the problem back again right after it rains or after heavy dews. And also understand that you want to enjoy your garden also. And so the fact that there's mothballs or dial soap or something else in your garden would make a difference for whether you're enjoying your garden also. A third way to look at managing deer in your garden is by a scare tactic. So motion detectors with lights or water often work well, as do dogs. Dogs are very effective. After we had lost our dog, we noticed that within a year or two we had way more deer damage than we had previously. Deer can also damage things like our specimen plants. Our dogwood tree actually had to be replaced because a deer had rutted against it in the fall, and so we have now provide a barrier against that from happening. It's important that you understand that we need to share this environment that we're in. It's not our natural habitat, it's theirs. And so there are consequences that come to invading other people's other organisms' habitats, and one of them is that you may have deer in your garden when you don't want them. So my suggestion is to start by planting things that are more resistant, more tolerant of deer, that they don't like as much. Places like Bench's Farms and other greenhouses and webs have listings of those types of plants. But recognize that even by doing that, you still might occasionally have deer coming through your garden and causing problems. At some point, we have to tolerate that they're in our space because, in fact, we've taken over theirs. Thank you.